a couple people to get on here. I'm talking to literally nobody right now, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, thank you for joining as you get on. We're looking forward to having a good show today, helping you guys out.
So today we're talking about some fantasy football week 3 preview, start and sit. If you have your questions, send them to us today. We're here to answer them as best we possibly can. We've gathered some info on specific teams and injury designations. So if you are, torn between starting this or starting this person or starting that person, then shoot us a question in the chat. First thing I'm going to talk about today is probably the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. I got Julio Jones on my team. So if he plays today, he's a must start, in my opinion. You got Godwin out. You got Mike Evans suspended. Who else is out?
I think Gage is playing. Fournette was questionable, same injury as last week, and he played through it. So I think he'll play. But yeah. Lots of O's and Q's on that depth chart today.
Yeah, week 3 is kind of confusing for a lot of our guys. So again, if you have Julio Jones and he is playing today, I'm not saying he is, but if he is playing today, it sounds like it's going to be literally a game time decision. So have your app open around game time, and if he is playing, flip it on the game, look at Twitter. If it says he's playing, I would start him. If I had the opportunity. I have the opportunity to start him, in my opinion, but the other guys I have in my lineup don't really warrant that. I've done some tweaking this week. I'm a tweaker.
Yeah, that game's going to be a mess because it's two good defenses, two depleted offenses. I think they have the 6th lowest total over-under for the week. And we're talking about 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, 7 MVPs between them, and we're just not expecting a offensive game at all.
Yeah, I'm not really excited to even watch that game. There's no big names there. It's kind of, I don't know. It's not like, one you would put up on the marquee as you're advertising. Because if everybody was available and Green Bay had a few good receivers, that's all you would be hearing about this week on ESPN is Tom versus Aaron Rodgers. It would be everywhere, but it's not, and that's for a good reason because nobody's playing in the stupid game. It's going to be a defensive battle. I think I'm going to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to come out on top simply because their defense is better. I like their defense. And then
they've got the points right now. They're the favorite.
Yeah. So, again, if you have Julio Jones, he's warranted at least a thought at starting in your lineup if he plays. Again, he is a game time decision, so make sure you double check. Probably, 12:50 if you can. You'll know by then.
Yeah.
Be careful.
I do think the Green Bay running backs get a boost.
Oh, for sure.
This whole wide receiver room is questionable. He's not going to be able to throw downfield on that secondary. So both Jones and Thielen, which I don't know that you can necessarily boost them because they're both probably like top 18 right now in the weekly ranks. Like you're starting them if you have them, but I think they're both in for a pretty good day.
The Green Bay Packers had 203 yards rushing last week. So they're going to rely heavy on that rushing attack, and then their passing attack is going to include their running backs as well. More likely because of Sammy Watkins is out. They've got Randall Cobb is questionable. Watson is questionable. So obviously, if you have a Green Bay running back, you should be in for a good day today. Same goes for Tampa Bay. Like we said again, if you just joined us, Julio Jones is questionable, but if he decides to play, he's a game time decision. Think about starting him today because they don't have very many people left. Another high quality matchup today is going to be the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, and the reason that's high quality for me is because the Buffalo Bills secondary is completely depleted. They don't have anybody left. Not saying that they don't have great players backing them up, but they don't have their starters out there. And after the week Tua had last week against the the Baltimore Ravens, who was a very formidable defense. I don't look for the same production from Tua, but if you own a Dolphins wide receiver, you should expect a good day today. And if you have Tua, and if you have any disregards on starting him at all. Last week should have probably submitted that if you have Tua in your lineup. Even if you have a little bit of a better quarterback today other than Tua in your lineup, think about starting Tua instead because he's in for a good day, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think all the Dolphins could have a good game. It's Buffalo's going to put up points, even if the defense is lacking, which it is. And you mentioned the secondary just trashed right now. Both safeties out. Dane Jackson at corners out. They're missing 2 guys up front too, so they're not going to be able to put pressure on Tua like they would, like they have the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
I also kind of like Chase Edmonds this week. It's going to be, I think this is a game where he can kind of break out to what we thought he could be preseason because it's going to be an up-tempo, pass-heavy game. They're going to put up a lot of points here. And I think Edmonds is a running back that's in during that game script.
Yeah, that's a good point there, too. I look for this to be a pretty high-scoring game. In order for that to happen, the offenses are going to have to take off and do, specific things, kind of like they did last week against Baltimore. The Bills are going to score points. That's just the bottom line. And in order to keep up with the Bills, Tua's going to have to make throws. And that includes Edmonds in the run game and the pass game as well. So look for a big game between the Bills and the Dolphins. If you have Dolphins wide receivers, expect another quality performance out of those guys as well. It might be a little bit more one-sided because I think they're going to try to shut down one or the other. I don't think both of them are going to have quite the day they had last week. I think that's an anomaly. But if you get lucky, it might be Jalen Waddle or it might be Tyreek Hill. So good luck to you guys who are starting Dolphins players today. You guys should have a good day. Coop, anybody else out there that you want to highlight really quick about maybe injury designations or things like that?
Injury wise, I think those are kind of the 2 games that have the most impact right now. Arizona's still really depleted, so I think Zach Ertz is definitely worth a look if you're not starting him, which you probably are if you have him rostered. He's, draft capital and everything. I think Ertz is going to have a good day for Arizona. But a couple of matchups that I think are just going to be really high scoring relative to what we've seen out of the teams so far or continue that trend. One is Minnesota and Detroit. I mean, both those offenses are explosive and their defenses are not great.
Yeah.
They're actually tied with Buffalo and Miami for the highest over-under on the day. So I don't see anybody in those matchups that's a fade for me. I think you're starting every relevant Detroit and Minnesota player you have. I think Thielen stays in your lineup. Jamal Williams is probably worth flex consideration if he gets into the end zone. Swift is still playing with the same injury he played with last week, and he was great, but they did limit his touches. So Jamal Williams has some touchdown upside. And then the other game real quick is Houston and Chicago, just because they're both so bad that I think both those offenses have an opportunity to put some points up, especially at running back because the passing games aren't great. I think Cooks has a little bounce back week, but David Montgomery as well as Damian Pierce are both pretty much must starts for me. They're in that RB20 and up range.
I'll tell you this about that game. If Cole Kmet catches a football, I'm going to be pissed. Because if you look at my fantasy, if you look at my fantasy lineup, I've got 4 tight ends on that list. We're just waiting for one to hit so I can drop Cole Kmet's dumbass. I'm so mad at him. It's 2 targets in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Anyway, I believe I've got Gerald Everett in my lineup this week. Solid choice out of the waiver wires. I know if you guys play like we do, tight ends aren't the end-all be-all, but if you get a tight end that gives you 0 points every single week, you're not going to win your matchup. And your boy is 0-2 right now. I need something to happen. I feel really good about this week for some reason. 2 weeks into the season, it's not, throw in the white towel and just give up because, a lot of things can happen between now and the next few weeks. But you get into week 3 and 4 and 5, you're starting to think about, do I have enough to win my league? If not, if I'm in a dynasty league, what changes do I make? If I'm in my league and I'm not doing very well and it's a redraft league, maybe you need to start making some trades, make big name trades.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, you can't do that right But you can try. I mean, it's possible just to make something happen. Maybe get the right combination of people in there, but it's really difficult to do if early on in the season. I mean, Coop said good luck because he's sending out shitty ass trades everywhere.
No, so let's talk just for a second. I know we got a question come in, but give me just a second to talk about one trade etiquette. Okay, the first, people are going to make offers. A lot of those offers you're not going to like. You need to respond, even if it's a no. You need to give feedback. You can't leave it sitting there for 3 days and let it expire. You can't just deny it and not say anything. And if there is any value in it, if any player is interesting to you, throw a counter. It can be more lopsided than the one you got, but have some etiquette. Start a conversation. Be respectful to your league mates.
I feel like he's attacking me right now because I just hit decline and move on.
You're not the only one. I've been very active in trade offers and very inactive in completing trades. But another thing on trades real quick, it's all about your platform as well. So ESPN has a trade analyzer. They kind of go through and grade your trade when you offer it, total points for the season. And I have made trade offers where I'm negative. They're good offers, and I'm not even getting replies. But I don't think ESPN is the most accurate platform. That's just what we play on.
I don't think it is either.
I don't love their projections. I don't love their rankings. But that's what most of the people in your league are seeing. So, I try to weigh that balance and give people a positive on ESPN's paper for what I feel like benefits my team.
Yeah, I definitely use Fantasy Pros as a way to kind of gauge trades and even look for possible trades to send to people. My trade etiquette is I usually send a text message to the person that's in my group. I don't just send a trade offer through our ESPN app. I like to send, hey, would you do this for this? And then we talk that way before I send a trade offer so they're not blindsided. I feel like if I'm blindsided by a trade offer, that means somebody's trying to get me out of something that they want.
Oh my gosh!
And get rid of something that they don't want. Especially when you got like 4 bench players that aren't even starting in their lineup, and they're trying to get 2 of your starters.
But you also put your bench players into your lineup when you make those offers.
That's a good point, Coop. That's a really good point. All right, getting to some questions here. Thank you guys for joining us. We've got Sky Empire said, who would you start at the flex? DK, Thielen, Lazard, or Hardman? I'm really low on DK right now, but I don't want to be. I have him in my lineup. He's a starter in my lineup. He just hasn't done enough in order for me to he's a good flex play, honestly. I have him in my flex currently. I actually put Chris Olave above him in my lineup into the wide receiver 2 spot. Adam Thielen, we said earlier, would be probably a really good start today. Lazard, also probably a good start if he's healthy still. I think he played last week, if I'm not mistaken. And then Hardman hasn't done enough for me in order for me to throw him in the lineup consistently. There's just too many weapons. I don't even want to say weapons. I think there's choice. I think they're just choices for Patrick Mahomes. I think he's so good he can make anybody look good, and I don't think you're going to get enough consistency out of Hardman to start him. He's not shown anything yet to where a singular week matchup looks better than any other week, in my opinion. Out of this list, I like Thielen. I'm starting DK, but out of the choices, I think you'd get more out of Thielen than you would DK today.
Yeah, I think the conversation is definitely between DK and Thielen. I agree. Thielen, do you think he's going to score a touchdown today or not? I mean, that's what it comes down to with Adam Thielen. He's not going to get 8 catches and 120 yards. It's just not going to happen in that offense. Jefferson is the number 1 option. He's the number 2 option. But Thielen scores a lot of touchdowns. I do think there's a really good chance he gets in today. I think DK has a little higher floor. I think he's going to see more targets. He's got more opportunity volume-wise, but that Seattle offense just does not put up a lot of points, and I don't see that changing this week. They are playing Atlanta, but they're not going to go in and, put up 40 points. I think that you can feel fine playing DK. He's safer, but I'm with Frank. I got a good feeling about Thielen today. I think he gets in the end zone.
Yep. Appreciate the question, Sky. I know you got a couple ones that you've topped in, but we're going to answer this one real quick from Jacob Krasner from YouTube. Who do you think, Brady or Goff for week 3? I'm going Goff.
Yep.
Goff all day. Goff has the weapons. He's got quite possibly one of the best receivers in the NFL currently in Amon-Ra St. Brown. The dude's coming strong for some fantasy value in the coming years. And Goff has looked really good. The Lions' offense has looked really good. Brady is depleted. It took him a while last week to score anything. That offense is really, lacking right now in terms of star power. Fournette is really their only weapon today that I would see being a starter other than Julio Jones if he plays, because simply there's nobody else to throw the ball to. So I'm all Goff all day today. Appreciate the question, Jacob. If you guys haven't subscribed yet to our channel on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We do this every Sunday morning that we can, and then we do a stream on Monday nights. That's actually when we record our actual podcast. So if you join us on Monday nights and ask your questions leading into week 4 or review of week 3, you have a chance to have your question featured on our podcast. Sky Empire with a couple more questions here. Having a lot of choices this week for his fantasy team. I feel you, dude. I'm the same way. Bengals or Chargers defense. I don't know. Joe Flacco looked pretty good last week. Who are the Chargers actually playing?
The Jacksonville.
Jacksonville looked good last week too.
But I would go with the Chargers because I think they're just a better overall defense.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's more weapons on the Jets, especially with the emergence of Garrett Wilson. And they've got 2 solid running backs. Jacksonville has James Robinson's looked good. Etienne's still a question mark. They've really only got Christian Kirk. And I think that the Chargers are just a better defense all around.
Yeah, so he mentioned Etienne. That goes into his next question. Darrell Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, or Travis Etienne. I'm not starting Etienne today. I'm not starting him until something good happens. For me, I'm going to say Henderson because that's kind of the theme out of these 3. He's going to get more work, and you never know. He might get all of the work based on what's happened with the Rams recently. We know day 1, the Rams leaned on Henderson, and Akers barely got anything. But that was a little bit split last week, and I think Henderson's going to get a lot of the red zone looks. You have more touchdown upside with Darrell Henderson than any of those other 2.
Yep.
Jacob McCoy, one of our buddies, says, at what point would you start worrying about Eckler? That's a good question. People are worried about Eckler, just like I'm worried about Kokomet. I'm so mad. But that's apples and oranges. Eckler should be a top-tier fantasy running back for anybody. He's not had a lot of success so far. I think I'm going to say that a lot of that probably has to do with Keenan Allen being out, and they have one less weapon to worry about. They have Mike Williams and Eckler. And then the tight end spot, Gerald Everett has done okay job. That's who I picked up this week to start in my lineup for a tight end spot over Cole Kmet. But I think you shouldn't worry about Eckler. He's Austin Eckler. I mean, you're going to get good weeks and you're going to get bad weeks. Just like last week, Jonathan Taylor had like 4 fantasy points. And he's a top overall pick in our league. I know that because I have him. But I think, there's obviously some worry about Eckler. Like, man, this guy's, probably my first-round draft pick. He's not doing anything for me. There's probably reasons for it, and it might be schemes against certain defenses, and, his usage is not probably required. But I think he's a plug and play every week. I don't think you have to worry about him. You might maybe think about trading somebody for him, but you could get a lot out of Eckler in return, in my opinion. But I don't think you worry about him in terms of starting him or sitting him. He's a starter.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're dead on. There's 2 ways you can look at it. Are you worried about Eckler being startable? And the question there is the only time you worry about it is if he's hurt. Other than that, he's in your lineup every week. If you worry about Eckler returning top 5 RB value, then yes, that has already started. And you should try to flip him now for somebody you think has that top 5 potential. I'm not saying I would take this player over Eckler. It's really close, but Dalvin Cook is an interesting person to me. He started a little slow. I think Minnesota, with the offensive scheme they have now, are going to be better than projection starting the season. I know a lot of rest of season rankings have Dalvin Cook at 3rd after McCaffrey and Taylor, so he might be a name you try to flip Eckler for. But I don't think you're concerned about him being startable. He's going to be a top 20 running back. I don't know that he's going to be top 5 and return that draft capital.
You might need to wait until he has a really good game before you flip him. That way you have something for people to look at.
Yeah.
And then that way we're like, okay, he's still Austin Eckler. He's not like washed up or anything. Our old friend Bob Dole from a couple weeks ago says Stafford or Murray. Stafford has weapons but gets picked. Murray can run, but Modern Warfare just came out. The beta came out, so I'm sure Kyler Murray is playing the beta. I have not played the beta, but I do play Call of Duty. So in this situation,
Murray.
I don't know.
If it's close, always go with the mobile quarterback.
Yeah, he's going to have more chances to score on the ground than Stafford. Stafford's got Cooper Kupp. He's going to be able to throw it to whoever he wants to, and they're going to catch it and score. But Kyler Murray has more dual threat yardage to get. But, yeah, I would go with Murray too. The Delusional Tanner. That's an awesome YouTube name, my dude. A.J. Dillon or James Conner, half PPR. What do you think, Coop?
I would go James Conner. I think he's one of those. He's in a tier above A.J. Dillon for me because he is the workhorse for that offense. And they do have a better matchup. I know the Rams have a good front line. I think the rest of their defense has shown some question marks this year. But James Conner is he's a volume guy. You know, he's in that top 12 at running back just because he's going to get the touches in that offense. And Dillon has been great, but he's splitting it. They're playing Tampa. I think that running backs are going to have a good game. I think both these guys are top 20, and if you're starting them, you're in good shape. But I would lean Conner if you have to make the decision.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would agree with that too. I know Connor's been hurt, but if he's playing, obviously he's going to be healthy enough to get the work that he needs to score. He's a big touchdown guy. He's going to score probably a touchdown a game. That's a good projection for him, so you know he's going to get points that way. Yardage and things like that may be a variable you can look at, but honestly, he's their touchdown guy in the backfield, other than Kyler Murray. So I would go with the for sure pick in James Conner. And A.J. Dillon may come out and have a great game, but I don't think it's going to happen consistently. But for today, James Conner is probably the good pick. I think Aaron Jones is going to get the majority of the work today for Green Bay. He got the majority of the work last week too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Thank you guys for your questions. We appreciate all of them. If you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and do that now. Anybody else got any burning questions? You go ahead and send them our way. We'll stay on for a few more minutes just to kind of see if anybody has questions. One thing that I would like to talk about is I want to know when the other Saints receivers are going to break out. I have Chris Olave. He's done really solid work for me. But I've been hesitant to put him in the lineup simply because he hasn't scored yet. Michael Thomas is obviously taking over the number one role there, which for good reason. You know, if you got Michael Thomas in your lineup, you stole him because nobody would even think he was an afterthought for most people in the draft because he's coming off injury. We don't know even much about Jameis Winston. One thing you know about Jameis Winston is he's going to throw the rock and he's going to sling it around and he's going to have opportunities. But you got Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave there with if it's a healthy Alvin Kamara in the backfield. There's a lot of targets there. I had the decision of starting Olave and then DK or CeeDee Lamb, all those guys. In my opinion, Olave is a better start than both of those two people because of the average points per week. he's got more points, if not equal points per week than those two. But both of those two have weaker quarterbacks, in my opinion. So I'm just waiting on Olave to make my draft worth it, because I did get him kind of high. I didn't draft him above ADP, but I did draft him, right at his ADP. I probably could have got him 2 rounds later. So I was expecting him to be a big name for them, and he still might be. So I'm kind of waiting on that to happen. So anybody in your lineup, Coop, you're waiting for the break, other than Cole Kmet? You guys know that I'm a Cole Kmet hater.
DJ Moore is who I'm waiting on. Good Lord, show back up, man. Where did you go? 3 seasons of 1,200 yards and not been a good start to the year. But I've got faith. He's staying in my lineup. On your Olave problem, he had 365 air yards last week. That's the most in the NFL. That is insane.
He had like
that means
13 targets too.
Right. And so the depth of target was crazy. They're taking shots with him. I think Winston's back is the only thing holding him back.
Yeah.
Sorry for the double back there. But once he fixes, those vertebrae heal up or the fractures he's got going on, he's going to be a different player, and those deep balls are going to look a little better. He's got a great matchup this week at Carolina. It could be a good game for Olave. I think he's somebody that when he hits, if he's not in your starting lineup, you're going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Because he's got so much potential. They're looking at him. They're trying to make those plays happen. And I think the injury to Jameis is what's holding him back right now.
Yeah, I actually didn't have him in my starting lineup the first 2 weeks because, I have CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf and a couple other guys that are blanking. But people that you obviously would start over anybody else in my lineup. But I actually made the move today or this past week to put Olave in as a starting wide receiver. So we'll if it works out today, I'm gonna feel like a genius, especially if it helps me win my matchup. I'm matched up with a really good team, and my problem is I'm always projected to beat these teams, and I never do. And my projections are always like 30, 40 points better than pregame, but I'm underperforming, and I don't. It's frustrating to me. And if you guys are in the same boat, let us know, because I have not had a good start to my fantasy football year. I have good players.
Yeah, I've had Kyle Pitts kill me as well. He's another one that just hasn't hit yet.
Yeah. Well, guys, we appreciate you guys coming on and staying and taking a look at what we got going on here at the Trifecta Sports Podcast. Week 3 start and sit preview. Again, if you have any questions, you can ask Coop on Twitter throughout the day until then. He'll be the guy that you can go to, and he'll give you some answers. Quick reply. He needs some followers on there as well. So hit up Trifecta Coop with a 3. Thanks you guys that commented and tuned in today. We appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We'd appreciate it. We're on our way to 100 subscribers, so we would like to get there before the end of the football season. That'd be great. Could happen sooner. Could happen not, or could not happen sooner, I guess. But we appreciate you guys tuning in for the last half hour. Have a good week of fantasy football. We appreciate you guys participating with us. We wish you good luck in your games today and tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow. We have a live stream podcast recording. David will be back. He is on a plane right now, headed back to Illinois from Hawaii. But our third member of the Trifecta Sports Podcast will be here tomorrow around 9:30. We will be live streaming and live recording our podcast episode for this week. So appreciate it, guys. Again, love you guys.